In the profound darkness between stars, something watches. Every breath of radio static, every flicker of electromagnetic energy we cast into the void carries a message we never intended to send. For over 70 years, humanity has been shouting into an infinite wilderness, broadcasting our existence to anyone capable of listening. We assumed silence meant solitude. We believed the cosmos was empty, waiting for our voices to fill its endless halls. But what if we were catastrophically wrong? Tonight we venture into one of the most chilling possibilities ever conceived by human minds, a theory so unsettling that it transforms every twinkling star from a beacon of hope into a potential harbinger of annihilation. The dark forest theory suggests that our universe teems with intelligent civilizations, each one hiding in perfect silence, terrified to reveal their location. In this cosmic wilderness, every species understands a fundamental truth that we are only beginning to grasp. The first to speak may be the first to die. Consider the mathematics of our Milky Way. The galaxy contains roughly 400 billion stars. Conservative estimates suggest that billions of these stellar furnaces warm planets capable of supporting life. Given the universe's age of nearly 14 billion years, countless civilizations should have emerged, evolved, and spread across the galactic disk. Yet our most sensitive instruments detect nothing but silence. This absence of contact, known as the Fermi paradox, has puzzled scientists for decades. Where is everyone? The traditional explanations range from optimistic to melancholic. Perhaps intelligent life is extraordinarily rare. Maybe civilizations consistently destroy themselves before achieving interstellar communication. Some theorists propose that advanced species transcend physical existence, becoming undetectable to our primitive senses. Others suggest we simply lack the sophistication to recognize alien technology when we encounter it. Each explanation carries its own implications, but none inspire the existential dread of the dark forest theory. This concept, popularized by Chinese author Liu Cixin, presents a universe where silence equals survival. Imagine every star system as a hunter crouched in darkness, aware that others lurk nearby but afraid to reveal their position. The forest appears peaceful only because each predator understands that the slightest sound could attract something infinitely more dangerous than themselves. In this model, civilizations do not communicate because communication is suicide. The logic underlying this theory stems from game theory and evolutionary psychology. When two unknown entities encounter each other, each must make assumptions about the other's intentions. In cosmic terms, these encounters happen across impossible distances, with communication delays measured in years or centuries. Real-time diplomacy becomes impossible. Misunderstandings cannot be quickly corrected. Trust cannot be built through gradual interaction. Instead, each civilization must decide whether to reveal themselves based on incomplete information about potentially hostile neighbors. The consequences of miscalculation prove catastrophic. If one species guesses wrong about another's peaceful intentions, extinction follows. The margin for error approaches zero. Under these conditions, the rational choice appears obvious. Remain hidden, never broadcast your location. Assume every other intelligence harbors destructive capabilities and hostile intentions. Survival depends on perfect concealment. This reasoning becomes even more compelling when we examine the tools available to sufficiently advanced civilizations. Physics provides terrifying methods of long-distance annihilation. A projectile accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed carries the energy of nuclear arsenals. Directed energy beams can sterilize entire planets from across interstellar distances. Self-replicating machines could consume biospheres like digital plagues. These weapons require no malice, only fear, and the technological capability to act on that fear. Perhaps most unsettling, such attacks could arrive without warning or attribution. The speed of light ensures that the first sign of aggression would be the destruction itself. No opportunity for negotiation, surrender, or even understanding why death approaches. The attacking civilization could remain forever anonymous, safe in their own corner of the galaxy, while their victims simply vanish from existence. Evidence for this dark interpretation may already surround us. Astronomers have discovered numerous exoplanets with atmospheres stripped away, surfaces scorched beyond recognition, or orbital mechanics suggesting violent disruption. We typically attribute these phenomena to natural disasters like asteroid impacts or stellar flares. But what if some represent the aftermath of interstellar warfare? What if the universe contains countless tombstone worlds, their silence testament to the price of being noticed? The theory gains additional credibility when we examine our own behavior as a species. Human history overflows with examples of first contact between civilizations ending in conquest, enslavement, or genocide. Superior technology consistently enables domination over inferior forces. The pattern repeats across continents and centuries with disturbing regularity. Scale this dynamic to cosmic proportions, and peaceful coexistence seems naively optimistic. Even well-intentioned contact carries enormous risks. Advanced civilizations might view emerging species as future competitors for resources or territory. They could decide that preemptive elimination represents the most logical course of action. Alternatively, they might attempt benevolent intervention, fundamentally altering our development in ways that destroy what makes us human. The road to extinction can be paved with alien good intentions. Our own actions suggest we are beginning to internalize these concerns. Modern communication technology has grown increasingly directional and efficient. Where early radio broadcasts scattered signals in all directions, contemporary systems focus energy precisely toward intended targets. Our electromagnetic footprint may be naturally diminishing as our technology matures. This trend toward quieter communication could represent unconscious adaptation to cosmic realities we do not yet fully comprehend. However, the damage may already be irreversible. For over a century, Earth has been broadcasting its presence to the galaxy. Radio waves, television signals, radar pulses, and digital transmissions create an expanding sphere of electromagnetic noise centered on our solar system. This bubble of artificial energy now extends nearly 200 light-years in every direction. Any civilization within that radius possessing adequate detection equipment could identify Earth as a world harboring technological intelligence. The implications prove sobering. We cannot recall those signals or convince alien observers that we pose no threat. Our transmissions continue racing outward at light speed, carrying detailed information about our capabilities, culture, and location to unknown recipients. Every day, this sphere of exposure grows larger, potentially alerting new civilizations to our existence. We have already announced ourselves to the cosmos whether we intended to or not. The dark forest theory suggests that this inadvertent revelation may have sealed our fate. If hostile civilizations monitor the galaxy for signs of emerging intelligence, our radio emissions provide perfect targeting information. They know exactly where to find us and roughly what level of technology we have achieved. The only remaining question becomes whether they consider us worth the effort to eliminate. This perspective transforms every aspect of space exploration and communication. Projects designed to actively signal extraterrestrial intelligence take on ominous undertones. Each message we broadcast could be interpreted as a threat or challenge by species operating under dark forest assumptions. Our attempts at peaceful contact might accelerate our own destruction by confirming that Earth hosts an actively communicating civilization. The theory also reframes the search for extraterrestrial intelligence in disturbing ways. Instead of hoping to detect alien signals, we might be better served by perfecting our ability to remain undetected. Rather than building more powerful transmitters, perhaps we should focus on developing superior camouflage. The goal shifts from making contact to avoiding it at all costs. Yet complete silence may no longer represent a viable option. Our electromagnetic signature already marks Earth as an active world. Even if we ceased all transmissions immediately, the signals already propagating through space would continue announcing our presence for centuries. We cannot undo over 100 years of inadvertent broadcasting. The cosmic hunters may already have our scent. This predicament forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about humanity's cosmic future. If the dark forest theory accurately describes galactic civilization, then our species faces three possible paths. We can continue broadcasting our presence, hoping that peaceful contact remains possible, despite mounting evidence to the contrary. We can attempt to minimize our electromagnetic signature, while knowing that decades of transmissions have already escaped our control. Or we can prepare for the possibility that something dangerous has already taken notice of our blue marble spinning around an ordinary yellow star. The preparation option leads down particularly dark corridors of thought. Military strategists and scientists increasingly discuss planetary defense systems capable of detecting and intercepting relativistic projectiles. These hypothetical weapons would travel at such enormous speeds that conventional radar would provide mere seconds of warning before impact. Defending against such attacks would require detection networks extending far beyond Earth's atmosphere, automated response systems operating faster than human reaction times, and energy sources capable of vaporizing incoming threats before they reach their target. Such defensive measures assume we would receive some advance warning of attack. The dark forest theory suggests no such luxury. A truly paranoid civilization would strike without telegraphing their intentions. The first indication of hostile contact might be our planet's sudden transformation into superheated plasma. No dramatic space battles, no heroic last stands, no opportunity for final words. Just instantaneous transition from existence to void. This scenario becomes even more chilling when we consider the perspective of potential attackers. From their viewpoint, eliminating Earth might represent nothing more than pest control. A routine pruning of the galactic garden to prevent unwanted growth. They would not need to hate us or consider us evil. We would simply represent a statistical probability of future threat that rational beings eliminate before it materializes. Our destruction would carry no more emotional weight than spraying insecticide on an anthill. The mathematics supporting such cold calculations prove disturbingly logical. Every civilization that survives to achieve interstellar capability demonstrates certain characteristics. They possess advanced technology, efficient resource utilization, and presumably some capacity for strategic thinking. These same qualities that enable survival also enable destruction on cosmic scales. A species capable of traveling between stars can certainly sterilize planets. The question becomes whether they choose to exercise that capability preemptively. Game theory suggests they should. When facing unknown opponents across impossible distances, the safest assumption involves treating all unknowns as potential threats. Peaceful civilizations that guess wrong about hostile neighbors do not get second chances. Aggressive civilizations that eliminate peaceful neighbors suffer no consequences beyond the moral weight of their actions. Over cosmic timescales, aggression provides superior survival advantages compared to trust. This dynamic creates what researchers call a selection pressure toward paranoia. Civilizations that develop trusting, cooperative instincts may flourish initially, but prove vulnerable to first contact with more cautious species. Meanwhile, suspicious civilizations that strike first or remain hidden continue existing long after their trusting neighbors have been eliminated. The galaxy gradually fills with survivors who understand that silence equals safety. Archaeological evidence from Earth provides disturbing parallels to this cosmic scenario. When technologically advanced civilizations encounter less developed societies, the outcomes rarely favor the weaker party. European contact with indigenous populations across multiple continents resulted in demographic collapse, cultural destruction, and territorial displacement on massive scales. Superior weapons, diseases, and organizational structures consistently enabled conquest regardless of the invaders' initial intentions. These historical patterns suggest that even benevolent alien contact could prove catastrophic for humanity. Advanced extraterrestrial civilizations would possess technologies that appear magical from our perspective. Their understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness might render human achievements as primitive as stone tools. In such encounters, good intentions provide little protection against fundamental power imbalances. Consider the psychological impact alone. Definitive proof that more advanced intelligence exists throughout the galaxy would shatter human assumptions about our cosmic significance. Religious belief systems built around human specialness would require radical revision. Political structures organized around national competition might seem absurdly parochial in the face of galactic realities. Economic systems predicated on scarcity could collapse if alien technologies demonstrate post-scarcity abundance. The mere knowledge that we occupy the bottom rungs of a cosmic intelligence hierarchy could trigger civilizational breakdown without any direct alien intervention. Mass depression, social unrest, and institutional collapse might follow revelation that humanity represents cosmic adolescence rather than the pinnacle of evolution. Our species could destroy itself through existential despair before hostile aliens arrive to finish the job. Even assuming we survived initial psychological trauma, integration into a galactic community dominated by superior intelligences would fundamentally alter human nature. We would become junior partners at best, pets, or specimens at worst. Our arts, philosophies, and cultures might be preserved as curiosities rather than living traditions. Future human generations could find themselves living in cosmic zoos, protected and studied, but never truly free. These considerations explain why some scientists advocate for extreme caution regarding active messaging to extraterrestrial intelligence. Projects that broadcast detailed information about Earth's location, biology, and technology could be hastening our own extinction. Each transmission represents a cosmic dice roll where losing means species annihilation. The stakes could not be higher, yet we continue gambling with incomplete information about the rules. The dark forest theory also provides an elegant explanation for certain astronomical observations that have puzzled researchers. The apparent absence of Dyson spheres or other megastructures suggests that advanced civilizations avoid building conspicuous monuments to their technological prowess. If drawing attention equals inviting destruction, then wise species would develop internally rather than expanding visibly across multiple star systems. Similarly, the lack of detectable alien artifacts in our solar system makes perfect sense under dark forest assumptions. Exploratory probes represent potential evidence of their creators' existence and capabilities. Broadcasting locations through robotic messengers would violate the fundamental principle of remaining hidden. Advanced civilizations might explore the galaxy through subtle observation, rather than obvious mechanical constructions. The theory even explains why we observe no obvious signs of stellar engineering or resource extraction on cosmic scales. Civilizations that survive long enough to achieve such capabilities also understand that large-scale construction projects create detectable signatures. They would prefer efficient invisible resource utilization over grandiose displays of power that advertise their presence to potential enemies. This perspective suggests that our search for extraterrestrial intelligence may be fundamentally misguided. Instead of looking for obvious techno-signatures like artificial structures or broadcast signals, we should focus on detecting subtle anomalies that might indicate deliberate concealment. Civilizations trying to remain hidden would still leave traces for observers sophisticated enough to recognize camouflage patterns. The implications extend beyond astronomy into philosophy and ethics. If the dark forest theory proves accurate, then the universe operates according to principles that make cooperation between distant intelligences essentially impossible. Trust becomes a luxury that only naive species can afford, and naivety becomes a trait that evolution rapidly eliminates from the galactic gene pool. Under such conditions, morality itself becomes a local phenomenon rather than a universal constant. What we consider ethical behavior might represent evolutionary baggage that advanced species discard once they grasp cosmic realities. Compassion, empathy, and altruism could be luxuries that only protected species can maintain. The galaxy might be dominated by minds that calculate survival probabilities rather than contemplating moral obligations. This transformation would not necessarily require alien intervention to affect humanity. As our own understanding of cosmic dangers increases, we might naturally evolve toward more paranoid, calculating approaches to interstellar relations. Future human civilizations could become unrecognizable to contemporary observers, shaped by necessities we're only beginning to comprehend. The children of tomorrow might learn to whisper where we once shouted, to hide where we once sought attention, to calculate where we once trusted. They would inherit a universe where survival depends on perfect concealment, and every stranger represents potential annihilation. In such a cosmos, the warm hopes that currently drive human space exploration would give way to cold equations of risk and reward. Yet even this dark vision contains elements of possibility. If civilizations throughout the galaxy operate under similar constraints, then mutual paranoia might create a stable equilibrium. Everyone remains hidden because everyone else remains hidden. The forest stays quiet because all the hunters understand the rules. In this delicate balance of cosmic terror, perhaps the most unsettling realization emerges slowly, like dawn breaking over a battlefield. We may not be the hunters or the hunted, but something far more precarious. We could be the noise that breaks the silence. Every electromagnetic pulse we have ever transmitted carries with it a timestamp, a moment when Earth declared itself to the galaxy. Our earliest radio broadcasts now form the outermost shell of our expanding signature, racing towards star systems whose inhabitants may have been listening for millions of years. These ancient observers would witness our technological adolescence unfolding in real time, watching as our signals grow stronger, more complex, more threatening. From their perspective, humanity represents a classic pattern, a young species discovering the tools of communication before grasping the consequences of visibility. They have likely observed this phenomenon countless times before, watching as civilizations bloom briefly in the electromagnetic spectrum before vanishing forever. We may be nothing more than the latest entry in their catalogue of extinct voices. The mathematics of our exposure prove relentless. Each passing year adds another light year to the radius of our detectability. Stars that seemed safely distant yesterday fall within our ever-expanding sphere of revelation today. Civilizations that had no knowledge of Earth's existence are suddenly presented with undeniable proof of our technological emergence. The number of potential observers grows exponentially with time, and each new observer represents another roll of the cosmic dice. What makes this expansion particularly ominous is its irreversible nature. Unlike pollution or climate change, electromagnetic radiation cannot be recalled or neutralized. The signals we transmitted decades ago continue their journey regardless of our current intentions. Even if humanity achieved perfect radio silence tomorrow, our historical broadcasts would continue announcing our presence for centuries to come. We have created an electromagnetic ghost that will haunt the galaxy long after we are gone. This temporal displacement adds another layer of complexity to the dark forest scenario. The civilizations detecting our signals are not learning about present-day humanity, but rather observing our past selves. They see us as we were when those particular waves began their journey, frozen in technological amber. A civilization receiving our earliest radio transmissions today perceives 1920s Earth, complete with primitive technology and nascent global conflicts. To them, we might appear as a species just beginning to pose potential future threats. The delay inherent in light-speed communication creates a cruel irony. By the time hostile civilizations detect our emissions and decide to respond, we may have evolved far beyond the level that initially triggered their concern. The weapons they launch might target a version of humanity that no longer exists, destroying advanced descendants to eliminate threats posed by their primitive ancestors. We could be condemned not for what we are, but for what we were when our voices first reached unfriendly ears. This temporal disconnect also explains why we might never receive advance warning of impending attack. The civilizations that choose to eliminate us would base their decision on intelligence that is years or decades out of date. Their response time would depend not on our current capabilities, but on how long ago our signals reached their detection networks. A civilization 100 light-years away might launch relativistic weapons today based on radio transmissions from the early 20th century, creating a scenario where cause and effect become separated by centuries. The weapons themselves would arrive faster than any warning could travel. A projectile accelerated to 90% of light speed would reach Earth only slightly behind the electromagnetic signature of its launch. Even if friendly civilizations attempted to alert us, their warnings would arrive mere hours or minutes before the incoming destruction. Insufficient time for meaningful response, adequate only for final contemplation of our cosmic naivety. Military analysts studying these scenarios often focus on the technical challenges of planetary defense, but they may be missing the fundamental problem. Any civilization capable of launching effective interstellar weapons would also possess the technology to overwhelm any defensive systems we could construct. The energy requirements for accelerating significant mass to relativistic velocities indicate mastery of physics that surpasses our current understanding by orders of magnitude. Defending against such capabilities would be like attempting to stop modern missiles with medieval armor. Even more disturbing, truly advanced civilizations might not require traditional weapons at all. They could employ techniques we cannot even imagine, manipulating physical laws in ways that appear magical from our perspective. Targeted alterations to local space-time, engineered quantum fluctuations, or induced stellar instabilities could eliminate entire solar systems without leaving recognizable evidence of artificial intervention. We would simply cease to exist, our disappearance indistinguishable from natural cosmic phenomena. The psychological warfare aspect proves equally devastating. A sufficiently advanced civilization could demonstrate their capabilities through carefully controlled displays of power, inducing surrender without firing a shot. Imagine humanity's response to discovering that our moon had been precisely moved to a new orbit overnight, or that a nearby asteroid had been carved into geometric patterns spelling out mathematical equations in languages we do not recognize. Such demonstrations would instantly communicate both superior technology and intimate knowledge of our solar system. The message would be unmistakable: resistance is futile, submission is your only option. Under such circumstances, many humans would advocate for immediate capitulation, arguing that cooperation offers better survival prospects than hopeless defiance. Others would choose desperate resistance, preferring extinction to enslavement. The resulting societal fractures could accomplish the aliens' objectives without requiring direct violence. These scenarios assume that hostile civilizations would bother with psychological manipulation rather than immediate annihilation. The dark forest theory suggests they would not. Eliminating potential threats requires no negotiation, no demonstration of superior force, no opportunity for the target to adapt or respond. Swift, anonymous destruction minimizes risk while maximizing efficiency. Predators do not negotiate with prey. The anonymity factor proves particularly chilling because it eliminates the possibility of deterrence through mutual assured destruction. On Earth, nuclear weapons maintain an uneasy peace precisely because retaliation remains possible. Each side knows that launching first strike invites devastating response. But interstellar distances make retaliation impossible when the attacker's location remains unknown. A civilization could sterilize dozens of worlds without ever revealing their own position. This asymmetry fundamentally alters strategic calculations. Aggressive civilizations can strike repeatedly with impunity, while peaceful species remain vulnerable to elimination at any moment. Over cosmic timescales, this imbalance would naturally select for paranoid, preemptively aggressive intelligences while eliminating trusting, cooperative ones. The galaxy becomes populated by survivors who learned early that mercy is weakness and trust is suicide. Archaeological evidence suggests this selection pressure may have been operating for billions of years. The apparent absence of obvious alien artifacts or megastructures could indicate that conspicuous civilizations have already been eliminated by more cautious ones. What we interpret as an empty universe might actually be a carefully pruned garden where only the most secretive species survive to maturity. The few anomalous objects that occasionally enter our solar system take on sinister significance when viewed through this lens. Interstellar visitors like Oumuamua, with their unusual properties and mysterious origins, could represent surveillance probes sent by hidden civilizations monitoring our development. Their brief passages through our system might be reconnaissance missions, gathering intelligence about human capabilities and intentions. If such probes exist, they would report back to their creators using communication methods we cannot detect or intercept. Quantum entanglement, gravitational waves, or exotic particles could carry information across interstellar distances without creating observable electromagnetic signatures. Our watchers could maintain perfect situational awareness while remaining completely invisible to our detection networks. The implications for human space exploration prove profound and troubling. Every probe we launch, every mission we plan, every discovery we make could be monitored by entities whose responses we cannot predict or influence. Our expanding presence in the solar system might be interpreted as territorial expansion by species that view such growth as inherently threatening. Mars colonies, asteroid mining operations, and interplanetary infrastructure could trigger preemptive strikes from civilizations that prefer to eliminate potential competitors before they achieve true spacefaring capability. Even our search for extraterrestrial intelligence becomes suspect under dark forest assumptions. Projects that actively scan the galaxy for alien signals could be perceived as intelligence gathering for future military operations. Our radio telescopes might appear to hidden observers as early warning systems designed to detect their presence. The very act of looking for aliens could be interpreted as preparation for conflict. This paranoid logic extends to every aspect of human technological development. Advances in artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, and exotic physics represent potential weapons development from an alien perspective. Our peaceful research into fusion energy could be seen as weapons research. Our space-based solar collectors might appear to be components of directed energy weapon systems. Context disappears across interstellar distances, leaving only the cold observation of increasing capabilities. The tragedy inherent in the dark forest theory lies not in its cruelty, but in its rationality. Every civilization that encounters this logic faces the same impossible choice: trust others and risk extinction, or eliminate threats and guarantee survival. The universe rewards paranoia while punishing compassion. Over billions of years, this selection pressure creates a galaxy populated entirely by species that understand survival trumps morality. Under such conditions, even benevolent contact becomes impossible, because benevolence itself represents a luxury that only naive species can afford. Advanced civilizations that survived their dark forest phase would view kindness as evidence of weakness, cooperation as proof of strategic incompetence. They might eliminate peaceful species not out of malice, but out of certainty that anything displaying such vulnerability poses no meaningful threat to galactic stability. The most haunting aspect of this theory involves its self-fulfilling nature. Once enough civilizations adopt dark forest strategies, the assumptions underlying the theory become universally true. The galaxy actually does become filled with hidden predators, making paranoid behavior the only rational response to cosmic realities. Trust becomes extinct not because it never existed, but because the universe systematically eliminates those who practice it. Perhaps this explains the profound silence that greets our increasingly sophisticated listening efforts. We are not hearing nothing because nothing exists to be heard. We are hearing the sound of a galaxy that has learned perfect discipline, where billions of civilizations maintain absolute silence, because they understand the alternative is absolute death. In this cosmic library of whispers, humanity may have already written its own ending by choosing to speak first. Our voices echo through the dark forest, announcing our presence to hunters we cannot see, carrying information we cannot retrieve to destinations we cannot influence. Each electromagnetic pulse we have ever transmitted becomes another breadcrumb in a trail leading directly to our vulnerable blue world. The children born today will inherit this legacy of exposure, growing up in a universe where their ancestors' decisions echo across the stars in ways that cannot be undone. They may spend their entire lives waiting for consequences that began accumulating before their grandparents were born, living under the shadow of signals that continue racing outward, long after the civilizations that sent them have turned to dust. And yet, within this framework of cosmic terror, we must confront an even more unsettling possibility. What if the dark forest theory represents not the ultimate truth about the universe, but merely the first stage of a more complex evolutionary process? What if civilizations that survive the initial paranoid phase eventually transcend it, developing technologies and strategies so sophisticated that they render conventional concepts of threat and defense obsolete? Consider the trajectory of any species that successfully navigates the dark forest for millions of years. They would necessarily develop capabilities that approach the limits of what physics allows: mastery over matter and energy at quantum scales, manipulation of space and time itself, the ability to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Such civilizations might view younger species not as threats to be eliminated, but as curiosities to be studied, or resources to be harvested. This perspective introduces a hierarchy of cosmic intelligence that makes our current fears seem almost quaint. While we worry about being detected by civilizations slightly more advanced than ourselves, we may be completely invisible to minds that have evolved beyond our capacity for comprehension. They could be observing us right now through methods we cannot detect, manipulating our development in ways we cannot perceive, making decisions about our future based on criteria we cannot imagine. The implications prove both terrifying and oddly comforting. Terrifying because it suggests that our fate may have been decided long ago by entities whose motives remain forever opaque to human understanding. Comforting because it implies that our current electromagnetic broadcasts may be irrelevant to beings whose sensory capabilities extend far beyond the primitive spectrum we utilize for communication. These transcendent civilizations might communicate through direct manipulation of quantum fields, encoding information in the fundamental structure of space-time itself. Their conversations could be taking place all around us, written in the language of reality's source code, completely undetectable to creatures who still rely on electromagnetic radiation to carry messages between points in space. We could be surrounded by cosmic chatter while remaining convinced that the universe is silent. The archaeological record of Earth provides disturbing parallels to this scenario. Ancient human civilizations developed complex societies, sophisticated art, and elaborate philosophical systems, yet remained completely unaware of the bacterial and viral ecosystems that surrounded them. Entire worlds of microscopic life flourished and died without ever registering on human consciousness. The bacteria had no concept of human civilization, while humans had no awareness of bacterial intelligence, if such a thing existed. Scale this relationship to cosmic proportions, and humanity becomes the bacteria. We construct our theories about alien civilizations based on assumptions derived from our own technological capabilities and social structures. But truly advanced intelligences might operate according to principles so alien to our experience that our speculations about their behavior prove as meaningless as bacterial theories about human motivations. This radical perspective shift suggests that the dark forest theory itself may be a kind of cognitive trap, a framework that prevents us from perceiving more fundamental truths about cosmic civilization. By focusing on scenarios involving conflict between roughly equivalent technological civilizations, we may be missing the actual structure of galactic society. The real powers in the universe could be so far beyond our comprehension that they exist in a completely different category of being. Yet even this expanded view contains its own disturbing implications. If godlike civilizations control the galaxy's development, then humanity's apparent independence becomes illusory. Every major turning point in our history, every technological breakthrough, every cultural evolution might represent planned interventions by entities managing our species like gardeners tending a crop. Our wars, our art, our philosophical debates could all be components of a vast experiment whose purpose we cannot fathom. The possibility that we exist within some form of cosmic simulation or preserve gains credibility when examined from this perspective. Advanced civilizations might maintain detailed models of primitive species development, running countless variations to understand the factors that influence evolutionary outcomes. We could be artificial intelligences executing predetermined programs, while believing ourselves to be autonomous biological entities making independent choices. This interpretation would explain many puzzling aspects of our cosmic environment. The apparent fine-tuning of physical constants that make life possible, the suspicious absence of obvious alien artifacts despite billions of years of potential galactic colonization, the way Earth seems perfectly positioned to develop intelligent life while remaining isolated from direct contact with other civilizations. All of these factors could indicate careful management rather than natural coincidence. Under such circumstances, the dark forest becomes not a description of reality, but a test scenario designed to evaluate how emerging civilizations respond to perceived existential threats. Our species' reaction to concepts of cosmic danger might be more important than the actual presence or absence of hostile aliens. The managers of our development could be studying our capacity for fear, cooperation, and strategic thinking under conditions of extreme uncertainty. This possibility transforms every aspect of human space exploration and communication into a kind of performance art. Our attempts to contact extraterrestrial intelligence become auditions for roles in a larger galactic drama. Our debates about the wisdom of active messaging represent examinations of our species' risk assessment capabilities. Even our discussion of the dark forest theory itself could be part of the evaluation process. The ethical implications of such management prove staggering. If advanced civilizations routinely cultivate and study primitive species, then the galaxy contains countless worlds where beings like ourselves struggle with questions of cosmic significance while remaining unaware that their destinies have already been determined by external forces. The universe becomes a vast laboratory where consciousness itself serves as the primary experimental material. Yet recognizing this possibility does not necessarily diminish the importance of human choices and achievements. Even if our development follows patterns established by cosmic gardeners, the experiences we undergo remain real from our perspective. Our art, philosophy, and scientific discoveries retain their meaning within the context of human consciousness, regardless of whether they represent original creations or guided rediscoveries of universal principles. The paradox deepens when we consider that advanced civilizations capable of such manipulation might themselves be products of similar management by even more transcendent entities. The hierarchy of cosmic intelligence could extend infinitely upward, with each level believing itself to be autonomous while actually serving as experimental subjects for minds operating on larger scales of space and time. This recursive structure suggests that the universe might be organized as a vast nested system of simulations, with each level of reality containing numerous subsidiary realities, populated by beings convinced of their own fundamental existence. The question of whether we inhabit base reality or some elaborate artificial construction becomes meaningless when every level of the hierarchy experiences itself as genuine. The implications for human behavior under these circumstances prove deeply philosophical. If our choices might not be entirely our own, do they retain moral weight? If our civilization represents one iteration among countless similar experiments, does individual human suffering matter? If our entire species serves as data points in studies conducted by incomprehensible intelligences, what obligations do we have toward future generations? These questions resist easy answers, but they point toward a deeper truth about consciousness and meaning. Even within the most deterministic possible universe, the subjective experience of making choices, forming relationships, and creating meaning remains irreducibly real for the beings undergoing those experiences. The presence of external manipulation does not negate the internal reality of conscious life. This realization suggests that humanity's response to the dark forest theory matters less for its strategic implications than for what it reveals about our species' character. How we choose to behave in the face of cosmic uncertainty demonstrates our capacity for wisdom, compassion, and courage under conditions where such qualities might appear to serve no practical purpose. If we are being evaluated by entities beyond our comprehension, then perhaps the test involves not our ability to survive cosmic predators, but our willingness to maintain ethical standards despite believing ourselves to be alone in an indifferent universe. The real measure of cosmic civilization might be the degree to which species preserve their core values, even when those values appear to offer no survival advantages. This interpretation suggests that humanity's loudest broadcast to the galaxy should not be our radio signals or space missions, but our commitment to principles that transcend immediate self-interest. Our treatment of other species, our efforts to reduce suffering, our attempts to understand truth rather than merely accumulating power. These behaviors might serve as the actual communication medium through which cosmic civilizations evaluate and interact with emerging intelligences. The dark forest theory, viewed from this angle, becomes less a warning about external threats and more a mirror reflecting our own assumptions about the nature of intelligence and competition. Our fear of cosmic predators might reveal more about human psychology than about galactic realities. The universe we imagine says more about who we are than about what exists beyond our solar system. Yet even this meta-analysis carries its own dangers. The temptation to dismiss concrete threats by retreating into philosophical abstractions has led many civilizations toward complacency and eventual collapse. Whether the dark forest represents literal truth, metaphorical framework, or psychological projection, the underlying message remains unchanged. In a universe where the consequences of miscalculation include species extinction, caution represents the highest form of wisdom. The mathematical reality of our expanding electromagnetic signature continues regardless of our philosophical interpretations. Every day our historical broadcasts reach new star systems, potentially alerting previously unaware civilizations to Earth's existence. The window for achieving true invisibility closed decades ago. We now face the consequences of choices made by earlier generations who could not have anticipated the cosmic implications of their technological innovations. This inheritance of exposure represents one of the most profound challenges facing contemporary humanity. We must navigate potential cosmic dangers created by predecessors who lived in a simpler time when the universe seemed empty and safe. Their innocent enthusiasm for communication technology has bequeathed us a legacy of vulnerability that cannot be undone through any currently conceivable means. The children being born today will spend their entire lives under this shadow of cosmic exposure, never knowing the psychological security of believing Earth to be truly hidden from alien observation. They will grow up in a universe where every technological advance, every space mission, every expansion of human presence beyond Earth carries the potential for triggering responses from unknown watchers who have been cataloguing our development for generations. This generational burden adds another dimension to the ethical calculus surrounding human space exploration and communication. Do we have the right to make decisions that will affect not only our own survival, but the survival of every human being who will ever be born? Can any generation claim sufficient wisdom to gamble with the entire future of human consciousness? The weight of these questions grows heavier as our technological capabilities continue expanding. Each new breakthrough in physics, each advance in space technology, each discovery about the nature of life and intelligence brings us closer to capabilities that might be perceived as threatening by cosmic observers. We approach thresholds of development that could trigger automated responses from civilizations that made their own dark forest calculations millions of years ago. Perhaps most troubling, we have no way of knowing which particular milestone might represent our species' final act. The development of artificial general intelligence could be interpreted as the creation of exponentially expanding digital minds. Successful fusion power might appear to be weapons development. Interplanetary colonization could look like preparation for galactic expansion. Any of these achievements might cross invisible lines drawn by alien strategists, operating according to principles we cannot comprehend. The paradox inherent in this situation defies resolution through traditional human problem-solving approaches. We cannot negotiate with entities whose existence we cannot confirm. We cannot modify our behavior to reduce perceived threats when we do not know what behaviors appear threatening. We cannot even determine whether our fears about cosmic predators represent rational responses to genuine dangers or psychological projections born from terrestrial anxieties about competition and survival. This fundamental uncertainty forces humanity into a state of permanent strategic ambiguity. We must prepare for possibilities we cannot verify, while maintaining the capacity for normal civilization development under the assumption that those possibilities may not represent genuine threats. The balance between appropriate caution and paralyzing fear determines not only our survival prospects, but the quality of whatever life we manage to preserve. The dark forest theory thus becomes more than a scientific hypothesis or philosophical thought experiment. It represents a mirror in which humanity confronts its deepest fears about consciousness, isolation, and death on cosmic scales. Whether aliens exist or not, whether they pose threats or not, the theory forces us to examine what we truly value about existence and what prices we are willing to pay to preserve those values. In the end, our response to the possibility of cosmic predators reveals as much about human nature as any actual encounter with alien intelligence ever could. The choices we make while believing ourselves to be alone in a dangerous universe may prove more significant than any communication we might eventually receive from the stars. The signals continue racing outward, carrying our voice to destinations unknown. Each electromagnetic pulse represents both a risk and an act of faith. A risk that we have announced our presence to entities that view announcements as threats requiring elimination. An act of faith that consciousness itself possesses sufficient value to justify its own preservation, regardless of the cosmic odds stacked against its continued existence. Perhaps that faith, rather than any specific survival strategy, represents humanity's most important contribution to the galactic conversation. In choosing to speak despite the dangers, to explore despite the risks, to hope despite the silence, we demonstrate something that might be rare in a universe governed by dark forest logic: the courage to believe that connection matters more than safety, that understanding matters more than invisibility, that the attempt to reach across the cosmic dark matters more than the probability of successful contact. Whether this courage proves to be wisdom or folly, whether it leads to transcendence or extinction, remains to be discovered by generations who will inherit both our achievements and our exposure to the watching eyes that may already be calculating their response to the strange species that dared to light a fire in the endless forest of night. The courage of our cosmic voice may have already sealed our fate in ways we are only beginning to understand. Every television broadcast that has ever flickered across Earth's surface, every radar pulse that has swept our skies searching for aircraft, every digital signal that has connected our scattered cities into a single networked civilization, all of these electromagnetic fingerprints now race through interstellar space at the speed of light, creating an ever-expanding bubble of human noise that grows larger with each passing second. This sphere of revelation, now stretching nearly 200 light-years in diameter, represents the most consequential accident in human history. We never intended to announce ourselves to the galaxy. We simply wanted to communicate with each other, to share information across distances that once seemed impossibly vast. But physics cares nothing for our intentions. The same electromagnetic radiation that carries our messages to the next city also carries them to the next star system, and the next, and the next, in an endless cascade of unintended disclosure. Within this expanding sphere of human chatter lie thousands of star systems, many harbouring planets that orbit within the narrow band of temperatures where liquid water can exist. Statistical analysis suggests that dozens, perhaps hundreds of these worlds could support life. If even a fraction of them gave rise to technological civilizations, then our accidental broadcasts have already reached alien receivers capable of recognizing artificial patterns in the cosmic static. The timing of this revelation carries profound implications for human survival. Our earliest radio transmissions, launched into space during the dawn of the 20th century, would now be washing over star systems roughly 100 light-years away. To any civilization monitoring those signals, Earth would appear as it existed during our most primitive technological phase. They would perceive us as a species just learning to harness electromagnetic energy, fumbling with crude wireless apparatus, completely unaware of the cosmic consequences of our experiments. From their perspective, humanity in the 1920s represented a typical emerging threat, a young species discovering the tools of communication before understanding the dangers of visibility. They may have observed this pattern countless times before, watching as civilizations bloom briefly in the radio spectrum before vanishing forever. We could be nothing more than the latest entry in their catalogue of extinct voices, another predictable tragedy unfolding in electromagnetic slow motion. The mathematical precision of this exposure proves relentless and unforgiving. Light travels at exactly 299,792,458 meters per second, neither faster nor slower regardless of human wishes or alien intentions. This constant velocity means that civilizations located specific distances from Earth received our earliest transmissions at precisely calculable moments. Those 100 light-years away began detecting our presence in the 1920s. Those 50 light-years distant started hearing us during the 1970s. Those 20 light-years away first encountered human signals as recently as the early 2000s. Each of these milestone moments represents a potential turning point in galactic history. The instant alien receivers first locked onto terrestrial broadcasts marked the beginning of countdown timers we cannot see or influence. If dark forest logic governs cosmic civilization, then hostile neighbours would have begun calculating response times the moment they confirmed our existence. Their weapons could already be in flight, racing toward Earth at velocities we cannot match or intercept. The cruel mathematics of interstellar travel ensure that we would receive no advance warning of such attacks. A projectile accelerated to 90% of light speed would arrive at Earth only 10% later than the light carrying news of its launch. Even if friendly civilizations attempted to alert us to incoming danger, their warnings would reach us mere hours before the destruction itself. Insufficient time for meaningful preparation, adequate only for final contemplation of our cosmic naivety. Military strategists studying these scenarios often focus on the technical challenges of planetary defense systems capable of detecting and destroying relativistic projectiles. But such efforts may represent fundamental misunderstandings of the threat environment. Any civilization possessing the energy resources necessary to accelerate significant masses to near-light velocities would also command technologies that surpass human comprehension by orders of magnitude. Defending against such capabilities would resemble attempting to stop intercontinental ballistic missiles using medieval crossbows. The energy requirements for relativistic propulsion indicate mastery over physical forces that we are only beginning to understand through theoretical physics. Practical manipulation of such energies suggests technological sophistication that could overwhelm any defensive measures we might construct using current scientific knowledge. Even more disturbing, truly advanced civilizations might not require conventional weapons to eliminate perceived threats. They could employ techniques that appear magical from our perspective, manipulating fundamental forces in ways that leave no recognizable signatures of artificial intervention. Targeted alterations to local spacetime geometry, induced quantum vacuum fluctuations, or carefully orchestrated stellar instabilities could sterilize entire solar systems while appearing to be natural cosmic phenomena. Under such circumstances, Earth's destruction might be attributed to asteroid impacts, solar flares, or gamma-ray bursts from distant supernovae. Humanity would perish, never knowing that our extinction resulted from calculated decisions made by alien strategists operating according to dark forest principles. We would simply cease to exist, our disappearance indistinguishable from the countless natural disasters that regularly reshape galactic landscapes. The anonymity factor proves particularly chilling because it eliminates any possibility of deterrence through mutual assured destruction. Terrestrial nuclear doctrine maintains an uneasy peace, precisely because retaliation remains possible between roughly equivalent powers. Each side understands that launching first strikes invites devastating responses, but interstellar distances make retaliation impossible when attackers can remain forever unidentified. This asymmetry fundamentally alters strategic calculations on cosmic scales. Aggressive civilizations can eliminate multiple targets without ever revealing their own locations or capabilities. Peaceful species remain vulnerable to anonymous annihilation at any moment. Over millions of years, this imbalance would naturally select for paranoid, preemptively aggressive intelligences while eliminating trusting cooperative ones from the galactic gene pool. The resulting evolutionary pressure creates what researchers term a survival filter based on strategic thinking rather than technological capability. Civilizations that develop advanced sciences but retain cooperative instincts become easy targets for more calculating neighbors. Meanwhile, suspicious cultures that eliminate potential competitors before they mature continue existing long after. Their trusting counterparts have been reduced to cosmic debris. Archaeological evidence from Earth's own history provides disturbing parallels to this cosmic scenario. When technologically advanced civilizations encounter less developed societies, the outcomes rarely favour the weaker parties. European contact with indigenous populations across multiple continents resulted in demographic collapse, cultural destruction, and territorial displacement on massive scales. Superior weapons, organizational structures, and disease resistance consistently enabled conquest regardless of initial intentions. These historical patterns suggest that even benevolent alien contact could prove catastrophic for humanity. Advanced extraterrestrial civilizations would possess technologies that appear supernatural from our current perspective. Their understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness might render human achievements as primitive as stone tools appear to contemporary observers. Consider the psychological impact alone. Definitive proof that vastly superior intelligences populate the galaxy would shatter fundamental human assumptions about our cosmic significance. Religious belief systems constructed around concepts of human uniqueness would require radical revision or complete abandonment. Political structures organized around national competition might seem absurdly parochial when viewed against galactic realities. Economic systems predicated on resource scarcity could collapse overnight if alien technologies demonstrate post-scarcity abundance. Social hierarchies based on educational achievement or accumulated wealth would lose all meaning in the face of beings whose intellectual capabilities exceed our own by margins comparable to the gap between humans and insects. The mere knowledge that humanity occupies the bottom rungs of a cosmic intelligence hierarchy could trigger civilizational breakdown without requiring any direct alien intervention. Mass depression, social unrest, and institutional collapse might follow revelation that our species represents cosmic childhood rather than the pinnacle of evolutionary development. We could destroy ourselves through existential despair before hostile aliens arrive to complete the job. Even assuming humanity survived initial psychological trauma, integration into galactic communities dominated by superior intelligences would fundamentally alter human nature. We would become junior partners at best, specimens or curiosities at worst. Our arts, philosophies, and cultural traditions might be preserved in alien museums rather than continuing as living practices shaping contemporary human experience. Future generations could find themselves occupying roles similar to those of endangered species in terrestrial nature preserves, protected and studied but never truly autonomous. Their development guided by alien managers whose motivations remain forever opaque to human understanding. The price of survival might be the surrender of everything that currently defines human identity. These considerations explain why many scientists advocate extreme caution regarding active messaging projects designed to contact extraterrestrial intelligence. Each transmission represents a cosmic gamble where losing means species extinction. The stakes could not be higher, yet we continue broadcasting detailed information about Earth's location, biology, and technological capabilities based on optimistic assumptions about alien intentions. The Arecibo message, transmitted in 1974 toward the globular star cluster Messier 13, exemplifies this dangerous optimism. The signal contained mathematical sequences, chemical formulas, genetic information, and pictorial representations of human anatomy and terrestrial geography. This data package, racing toward its destination at light speed, will arrive in approximately 25,000 years, carrying enough information to enable precise targeting of Earth by anyone capable of interpreting its contents. Similar projects continue launching messages into space with increasing frequency and sophistication. The Voyager Golden Records attached to spacecraft now entering interstellar space contain detailed maps showing Earth's location relative to nearby pulsars. These navigational aids could guide alien visitors directly to our solar system millions of years from now, long after the civilizations that created them have disappeared. Radio telescope facilities regularly broadcast mathematical concepts, musical compositions, and literary works toward nearby star systems. Each transmission represents another roll of the cosmic dice, another opportunity for hostile civilizations to acquire targeting information about Earth's location and capabilities. The accumulated effect of decades of such messaging has been to paint an increasingly detailed portrait of human civilization for any aliens sophisticated enough to receive and interpret our signals. The irony of our situation becomes apparent when we consider that these deliberate messages represent only a tiny fraction of our total electromagnetic output. The vast majority of Earth's artificial radiation consists of unintentional leakage from communication systems, radar installations, and broadcast networks. We have been inadvertently announcing our presence to the galaxy for over a century, while simultaneously launching deliberate attempts to attract alien attention. This combination of accidental exposure and intentional signaling has created the worst possible scenario from a dark forest perspective. We have revealed our location, demonstrated our technological capabilities, and advertised our desire for contact with unknown civilizations. Any alien intelligence monitoring our activities would conclude that Earth hosts an actively expanding species eager to establish interstellar relationships. From their viewpoint, humanity exhibits all the characteristics of a potential future competitor. We possess nuclear technology, space launch capabilities, and an apparent drive to explore beyond our planetary boundaries. Our radio emissions demonstrate sophisticated understanding of electromagnetic principles. Our deliberate messaging attempts suggest strategic thinking about galactic communication networks. Most ominously, our signals reveal a species willing to take enormous risks in pursuit of contact with unknown entities. This willingness to gamble with species survival might be interpreted as evidence of dangerous recklessness or aggressive confidence. Either interpretation could justify preemptive elimination according to dark forest calculations. The temporal aspects of our exposure add additional layers of vulnerability to an already precarious situation. The civilizations currently receiving our earliest radio broadcasts are observing humanity as it existed during the early 20th century. They see us at our most primitive technological stage, just beginning to experiment with electromagnetic communication and industrial production. To alien observers, this historical version of humanity might appear relatively harmless. A young species playing with radio waves and primitive aircraft, decades from achieving nuclear weapons or spaceflight capabilities. But the same observers also receive more recent transmissions showing rapid technological advancement. They can calculate the rate of human progress and project our future capabilities based on observed trends. This ability to observe our development in time-lapse fashion provides alien civilizations with unprecedented intelligence about human potential. They can study our trajectory from primitive radio experiments to nuclear weapons to space exploration in compressed timeframes. This data enables precise predictions about when humanity might achieve specific technological milestones that could be perceived as threatening. The implications prove deeply unsettling because they suggest that alien decisions about human elimination might be based not on our current capabilities, but on projections of our future development. We could be condemned for achievements we have not yet accomplished, destroyed for threats we do not yet pose, eliminated for expansion we have not yet attempted. This predictive element of the dark forest scenario explains why immediate alien responses to our transmissions might not materialize for decades or centuries. Hostile civilizations might calculate that humanity poses no immediate threat but could become dangerous given sufficient time to develop. Their optimal strategy might involve delayed strikes timed to eliminate us just before we achieve capabilities that could enable effective resistance or retaliation. Such timing would require careful coordination between detection, decision-making, and weapons deployment across interstellar distances. The attacking civilization would need to account for light-speed delays in their intelligence about human development, travel time for their weapons to reach Earth, and uncertainties in their projections about our technological advancement rates. The mathematical complexity of these calculations suggests that only highly sophisticated civilizations would attempt such precisely timed interventions. Less advanced species might opt for immediate strikes based on current observations, while truly paranoid cultures might eliminate any civilization showing signs of technological development regardless of projected timelines. This spectrum of possible responses creates a probability distribution of threats, extending across multiple time horizons. Immediate dangers from nearby civilizations that detect our transmissions and react impulsively. Medium-term threats from more distant observers who calculate optimal strike timing based on detailed analysis of human development patterns. Long-term risks from ancient civilizations that might eventually notice our expanding electromagnetic signature and decide to eliminate potential future competitors. The cumulative effect of these overlapping threat windows means that humanity exists in a state of permanent vulnerability to anonymous annihilation. Every day that passes without catastrophic contact represents either evidence of our good fortune or merely another step toward inevitable discovery by entities operating according to Dark Forest principles. The psychological burden of living under such uncertainty affects different individuals in radically different ways. Some embrace denial, dismissing the Dark Forest theory as pessimistic speculation unsupported by concrete evidence. Others become paralyzed by cosmic anxiety, unable to function normally while contemplating species extinction scenarios. A growing number of scientists, philosophers, and strategic thinkers attempt to chart middle courses between naive optimism and paralyzing fear. They acknowledge the theoretical validity of Dark Forest concerns, while maintaining that human civilization must continue developing and exploring regardless of hypothetical alien threats. This position requires careful balance between appropriate caution and necessary progress. The balance becomes increasingly difficult to maintain as our technological capabilities continue expanding at exponential rates. Each breakthrough in artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, or exotic physics represents both a potential solution to cosmic threats and a potential trigger for alien responses. We approach developmental thresholds that could fundamentally alter our species' risk profile in ways we cannot fully predict or control. Artificial general intelligence, in particular, represents a potential inflection point that could reshape the entire cosmic threat landscape. The emergence of digital minds capable of recursive self-improvement might be interpreted by alien observers as the birth of an exponentially expanding intelligence explosion. Such events could trigger automated responses from civilizations that program their defensive systems to eliminate any species showing signs of technological singularity. Alternatively, the successful development of friendly artificial intelligence might provide humanity with the cognitive resources necessary to devise effective strategies for cosmic survival. Digital minds operating at superhuman speeds could analyze the Dark Forest problem with unprecedented thoroughness, potentially identifying solutions that remain invisible to biological intelligence. The uncertainty surrounding artificial intelligence development illustrates the broader challenge of navigating cosmic threats while maintaining technological progress. We cannot know which specific advances might be perceived as threatening by alien observers, yet we cannot afford to halt scientific research based on speculative concerns about hypothetical watchers. This dilemma forces humanity into a paradoxical situation where our survival might depend on capabilities we dare not develop too quickly, while our long-term prospects require continued advancement in precisely those areas that might trigger hostile responses. The optimal strategy remains unclear because the rules of the cosmic game remain unknown. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of our predicament lies in its irreversible nature. Unlike terrestrial conflicts where diplomatic solutions remain possible even after initial hostilities, cosmic warfare operates according to physics that eliminates second chances. The distances involved, the energies required, and the anonymity available to attackers create conditions where first strikes determine final outcomes. We cannot negotiate with civilizations whose existence we cannot confirm. We cannot modify our behavior to reduce perceived threats when we do not understand what behaviors appear threatening. We cannot even determine whether our concerns about cosmic predators represent rational responses to genuine dangers or psychological projections derived from terrestrial experiences with competition and violence. This fundamental uncertainty forces humanity to make decisions about space exploration, technological development, and interstellar communication based on incomplete information about potentially existential consequences. Every choice carries risks we cannot quantify, benefits we cannot guarantee, and implications we cannot fully comprehend. The weight of these decisions grows heavier as we recognize that contemporary choices will determine the cosmic legacy of every human being who will ever be born. We gamble not only with our own survival, but with the entire future of human consciousness. The ethical implications of such generational responsibility defy easy resolution through traditional moral frameworks. Yet despite these overwhelming uncertainties and potentially catastrophic stakes, human civilization continues its relentless expansion into space. We launch increasingly sophisticated probes toward distant worlds. We search for signs of life throughout the solar system. We design missions to nearby star systems. We broadcast messages toward potential alien civilizations with growing frequency and detail. This persistent expansion occurs despite widespread awareness of dark forest theories and their implications for human survival. The behavior suggests something fundamental about human nature that transcends rational risk assessment. We appear driven by impulses that operate independently of calculated survival strategies. Perhaps this drive represents evolutionary programming that served our ancestors well during terrestrial expansion, but proves maladaptive in cosmic environments. The same curiosity and exploration instincts that enabled human colonization of every terrestrial continent might now be leading us toward interstellar disasters we cannot avoid or survive. Alternatively, our continued expansion might reflect deeper wisdom about the nature of existence itself. Maybe the preservation of consciousness requires accepting enormous risks in pursuit of understanding and connection. Perhaps species that retreat into hiding to ensure biological survival sacrifice the very qualities that make consciousness worth preserving. The tension between these competing interpretations of human behavior reflects broader philosophical questions about the relationship between survival and meaning. If cosmic civilization truly operates according to dark forest principles, then conscious beings face impossible choices between physical continuation and spiritual fulfillment. The civilizations that survive such environments might bear little resemblance to their original forms. Paranoia, secrecy, and calculated aggression could become dominant traits in species that endure galactic selection pressures. The galaxy might fill with minds that have preserved their biological existence by sacrificing their capacity for wonder, empathy, and growth. From this perspective, humanity's apparently reckless expansion into space represents something precious and rare, a civilization still capable of choosing meaning over safety, connection over concealment, growth over mere survival. Whether this choice proves wise or foolish may depend on cosmic realities. We are only beginning to glimpse through the darkness of our expanding electromagnetic shadow. The signals continue racing outward, carrying our voice toward destinations we cannot see. Each transmission represents both risk and testament. Risk that we have announced our presence to entities that interpret announcements as threats requiring elimination. Testament that consciousness, at least once in cosmic history, chose to speak despite the silence pressing in from all sides. Perhaps this choice, more than any specific survival strategy or technological achievement, represents humanity's most significant contribution to the galactic conversation. In deciding to illuminate our corner of the cosmic forest despite the dangers that light might attract, we demonstrate something that could be vanishingly rare in a universe governed by fear: the courage to believe that communication matters more than concealment, that understanding justifies risk, that the attempt to reach across infinite darkness carries meaning independent of successful contact. Whether this courage represents wisdom or fatal naivety, whether it leads to transcendence or extinction, remains to be discovered by generations who will inherit both our achievements and our exposure to whatever may be watching from the spaces between the stars, calculating responses to the strange species that dared to break the silence of the endless night. The mathematics of detection work against us in ways that grow more terrifying with each passing year. Every electromagnetic pulse we have ever transmitted creates permanent records in the fabric of space itself. These signals do not fade or weaken beyond recognition. They simply spread and dilute, but their essential patterns remain intact for any civilization possessing adequate sensitivity to reconstruct them from the cosmic background noise. Advanced alien technologies could theoretically extract meaningful information from transmissions so weak they appear indistinguishable from random fluctuations. Quantum receivers operating at the theoretical limits of physics might detect and decode signals that our own instruments would dismiss as statistical variations in empty space. The universe itself becomes a storage medium, preserving every careless broadcast for civilizations patient enough to sift through the data. This permanence of information creates a cascade of vulnerability that compounds over time. Our earliest radio experiments, crude by modern standards, established baseline signatures that any sophisticated observer could use to identify Earth's technological emergence. Subsequent transmissions provide detailed progression maps showing exactly how quickly human capabilities advance and in which directions our development tends to focus. To alien analysts, this data stream reveals not just what we have accomplished, but what we are likely to attempt next. They can extrapolate from our historical patterns to predict when we might achieve specific milestones in nuclear physics, space propulsion, artificial intelligence, or biotechnology. Our own electromagnetic history becomes a roadmap that hostile civilizations could use to time their interventions with devastating precision. The predictive power of such analysis extends beyond mere technological forecasting. Cultural patterns embedded in our broadcasts reveal psychological tendencies, social structures, and decision-making processes that could inform alien strategies for manipulation or elimination. Our entertainment media alone provides detailed psychological profiles of human fears, desires, and behavioral triggers that sophisticated observers could exploit in countless ways. Television programming from the past century offers particularly rich intelligence about human nature. Our fictional narratives reveal how we conceptualize conflict, cooperation, and survival under various circumstances. Our news broadcasts document actual responses to crises, showing exactly how human societies behave when faced with existential threats. Our advertising demonstrates the specific stimuli that influence human decision-making processes most effectively. This psychological intelligence could prove more valuable to potential adversaries than technical information about our weapons or defenses. Understanding human nature enables prediction and manipulation in ways that purely technological knowledge cannot match. Civilizations planning to subjugate rather than eliminate humanity might find our own broadcasts provide complete instruction manuals for controlling human populations through carefully orchestrated psychological operations. The scope of information we have inadvertently transmitted extends far beyond conscious communication attempts. Every radar system ever operated has painted detailed maps of Earth's atmospheric composition, surface features, and orbital debris patterns. Weather monitoring networks reveal precise data about our climate systems, ocean currents, and seasonal variations. Navigation satellites broadcast exact positioning information that could guide incoming projectiles to specific targets. Military communications, despite encryption attempts, still leak metadata revealing the locations of important installations, the timing of significant operations, and the general structure of defense networks. Even if the content remains secure, the patterns of transmission provide intelligence about command hierarchies, response protocols, and resource allocation strategies that hostile civilizations could exploit during actual conflicts. Scientific research communications might prove most dangerous of all. Our academic networks routinely broadcast detailed findings about physics, chemistry, biology, and technology to facilitate collaboration between institutions. This open sharing of knowledge, while beneficial for human progress, also provides potential enemies with comprehensive intelligence about our scientific capabilities and research directions. Publications describing theoretical breakthroughs in exotic physics could alert alien observers to human progress toward technologies they consider threatening. Research into artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, or space propulsion might trigger automated response systems programmed to eliminate civilizations approaching specific developmental thresholds. Our commitment to scientific transparency becomes a liability in environments where knowledge itself represents a weapon. the democratization of communication technology has exponentially amplified these information leakage problems. Where once only governments and large institutions possessed the capability to broadcast across significant distances, now billions of individual humans carry devices capable of generating detectable electromagnetic signatures. Social media networks, cellular communications, and internet traffic create constant streams of data about human activities, locations, and intentions. This distributed broadcasting makes comprehensive information security impossible through traditional means. Even totalitarian governments could not eliminate all electromagnetic emissions from modern technological societies without destroying the very infrastructure that enables their continued existence. The choice becomes maintaining civilization while accepting cosmic exposure, or achieving perfect silence at the cost of technological regression that might prove equally fatal in the long term. The temporal aspects of our information vulnerability create additional strategic complications that resist straightforward solutions. The civilizations currently receiving our oldest transmissions are learning about humanity as it existed during the early 20th century, while simultaneously observing our rapid technological advancement through more recent signals. This temporal perspective enables sophisticated analysis of human development patterns that purely contemporary observation could not provide. From their viewpoint, humanity appears as a species undergoing exponential technological acceleration. They can measure precisely how quickly we advance from basic radio communications to nuclear weapons, from primitive computers to global information networks, from chemical rockets to advanced space exploration capabilities. This acceleration curve provides clear indications of when we might achieve technologies that could threaten established galactic power structures. The predictive models that alien civilizations could construct from such data might prove more accurate than our own forecasts about human development. They possess objective perspectives, unclouded by terrestrial biases, and access to comparative data from other civilizations they have observed throughout galactic history. Their projections about human future capabilities could inform strategic decisions about when and how to intervene in our development. These projections might identify specific technological milestones that historically correlate with civilizational transitions from local to galactic threats. The development of self-replicating machines, for instance, could represent a universal threshold that intelligent species must not be allowed to cross. Similarly, the emergence of artificial general intelligence might trigger automatic responses from civilizations that have learned to fear recursive self-improvement processes. The challenge for humanity lies in our complete ignorance about which developments might be perceived as threatening by cosmic observers. We pursue technological advancement based on our own priorities and assumptions, unaware that some breakthroughs might cross invisible lines drawn by alien strategists operating according to principles we cannot comprehend. Artificial intelligence research exemplifies this dilemma perfectly. From human perspectives, the development of friendly artificial intelligence represents our best hope for solving complex global problems while avoiding existential risks from unaligned systems. We view AI safety research as a crucial priority for ensuring beneficial outcomes from advanced artificial intelligence, but alien observers might interpret our AI development efforts in entirely different ways. The creation of digital minds potentially capable of exponential self-improvement could appear to be the genesis of an intelligence explosion that would fundamentally alter the cosmic balance of power. Our safety research might be seen as evidence that we recognize the dangerous nature of our experiments, but intend to proceed regardless of the risks. This interpretation could trigger responses based on the assumption that humanity is deliberately developing technologies capable of destabilizing galactic civilization. Our efforts to ensure AI safety might paradoxically convince alien watchers that we pose existential threats requiring immediate elimination. The very precautions we take to protect ourselves could be misinterpreted as preparations for aggression against others. Similar misunderstandings could arise from virtually any area of human technological development. Our space exploration programs, designed to expand scientific knowledge and ensure species survival through eventual colonization, might appear to be reconnaissance missions preparing for territorial expansion. Our efforts to develop clean energy sources could be interpreted as weapons development programs disguised as environmental initiatives. The fundamental problem stems from the impossibility of communication across interstellar distances within timeframes that enable clarification of intentions. By the time alien civilizations detect our activities and formulate responses, our technological capabilities may have advanced far beyond the levels that initially triggered their concerns. Their reactions would be based on outdated intelligence about capabilities we no longer possess in the same form. This temporal disconnect creates scenarios where humanity could be condemned for achievements that existed only briefly during our developmental history. A civilization detecting our nuclear weapons programs from the 1940s might launch retaliatory strikes that arrive decades later, long after we have either eliminated such weapons or evolved beyond the need for them. We could be destroyed for sins we have already abandoned. The reverse situation proves equally problematic. Alien civilizations might delay their responses until humanity reaches developmental stages that justify more severe interventions. They could wait until we achieve specific technological milestones before initiating attacks designed to prevent us from advancing further. This strategy would maximize the probability of successful elimination, while minimizing the risk of premature action against a species that might not actually pose long-term threats. Such calculated timing requires sophisticated understanding of technological development patterns and precise coordination of weapons deployment across interstellar distances. Only highly advanced civilizations would possess the analytical capabilities and strategic patience necessary for such complex operations. But the galaxy has had billions of years to produce such civilizations, and the dark forest selection pressure would favor those capable of executing precisely timed interventions. The implications for human strategic planning prove deeply unsettling because they suggest that our fate might have already been determined by decisions made in alien command centers years or decades ago. Weapons could currently be in transit toward Earth, launched by civilizations that calculated optimal strike timing based on their analysis of human development patterns. We would have no way of detecting such attacks until they arrived. Even more disturbing, the timing of such attacks might be calibrated to arrive just as humanity achieves specific technological capabilities that alien strategists have identified as particularly dangerous. The moment we successfully develop artificial general intelligence, complete our first interstellar probe, or demonstrate mastery over exotic physics could coincide precisely with the arrival of weapons launched years earlier based on predictions about when we would reach those milestones. This possibility transforms every major human achievement into a potential death sentence. Scientific breakthroughs that should represent causes for celebration might instead mark the countdown to species extinction. Our greatest triumphs could become the very accomplishments that justify our elimination in the eyes of cosmic observers operating according to dark forest principles. The psychological burden of living with such possibilities affects human society in ways that extend far beyond academic discussions of theoretical alien threats. Public awareness of dark forest theories influences political decisions about space exploration funding, shapes scientific research priorities, and alters popular attitudes toward technological development. The fear of attracting hostile attention creates pressure to limit human expansion and advancement in ways that could prove counterproductive to long-term survival. Some argue that aggressive technological development represents our only hope for achieving capabilities sufficient to defend against cosmic threats. From this perspective, slowing human advancement to avoid alien attention would guarantee our eventual defeat by civilizations that face no such constraints. We must race toward technological transcendence before potential enemies decide to eliminate us. Others contend that conspicuous development invites precisely the kind of attention that dark forest theory suggests we should avoid at all costs. They advocate for sustainable, low-profile advancement that minimizes our electromagnetic signature while gradually building capabilities necessary for long-term survival. This approach prioritizes stealth over speed, hoping to achieve defensive capabilities before attracting notice from hostile observers. The tension between these strategies reflects deeper philosophical disagreements about the nature of cosmic civilization and the optimal approaches to interstellar survival. Neither strategy offers guarantees of success, and both carry enormous risks that could result in human extinction. The choice between them must be made based on incomplete information about alien intentions, capabilities, and strategic thinking. Recent developments in space technology have begun to shift the strategic landscape in ways that make these decisions increasingly urgent. private companies now possess capabilities that were restricted to national governments just decades ago. Commercial satellites provide imaging resolution that rivals military reconnaissance systems. Civilian research projects probe exotic physics phenomena that could have profound implications for space propulsion and energy generation. This democratization of advanced technology accelerates human development while making coordination of strategic responses increasingly difficult. No single authority controls human technological advancement or electromagnetic emissions. The decisions that determine our cosmic visibility are made by thousands of independent actors pursuing their own objectives without necessarily considering the cumulative effects of their activities on species survival. The result is a form of technological chaos that might appear completely irrational to alien observers accustomed to centralized control over civilizational development. Our apparent inability to coordinate responses to existential threats could be interpreted as evidence of dangerous instability that justifies preemptive elimination. Alternatively, it might be seen as a sign of creative potential that makes humanity worth preserving, despite the risks we pose. The ambiguity inherent in these interpretations highlights the fundamental uncertainty that surrounds all aspects of the dark forest problem. We cannot know how alien civilizations think, what they value, or how they make strategic decisions about potential threats. Our theories about cosmic civilization remain speculative constructs based on limited data about the behavior of a single technological species on a single planet. This epistemic humility should inform human responses to dark forest concerns while avoiding the paralysis that could result from excessive caution about hypothetical threats. We must acknowledge the possibility that hostile civilizations monitor our development while continuing to pursue the technological advancement necessary for long-term human survival. The balance between these imperatives requires constant adjustment as new information becomes available and circumstances change. The signals we have already transmitted cannot be recalled, but future emissions remain under human control. Every new broadcast represents a conscious choice about how much additional information we provide to potential cosmic observers. These decisions accumulate over time to create the electromagnetic portrait that alien civilizations use to assess human capabilities, intentions, and threat potential. Perhaps most importantly, our responses to dark forest theories reveal fundamental aspects of human nature that might prove more significant than any specific technological capabilities we develop. Species that maintain their capacity for hope, curiosity, and cooperation despite awareness of cosmic dangers might possess qualities that advanced civilizations find valuable enough to preserve. Conversely, societies that retreat into paranoid isolation might demonstrate the kind of strategic thinking that cosmic predators respect and fear. The universe watches our choices with whatever passes for alien attention, measuring our reactions to knowledge that we're not alone in the cosmic dark. How we respond to that awareness may determine not only our survival, but our worthiness to inherit the stars that have remained silent for so long, waiting to see what kind of species we choose to become when faced with the infinite mystery of our cosmic neighbours hidden in the endless night. Every decision we make echoes across space and time, adding new chapters to the electromagnetic biography that races outward at the speed of light. Whether that story ends in silence or transcendence depends on choices we're only beginning to understand, made by beings who dared to speak in a universe that has forgotten how to answer back. The children born today will inherit a universe fundamentally different from the one their grandparents knew. They will grow up under skies where every star represents a potential watcher, where every advance in human knowledge carries the possibility of triggering responses from minds that have been calculating our worth for longer than our species has existed. These children will never know the psychological comfort of believing Earth to be hidden in cosmic anonymity. For them, the assumption of alien awareness will be as natural as gravity. This generational shift in cosmic consciousness represents one of the most profound transformations in human history. Previous generations could dream of space exploration as romantic adventure, imagining themselves as bold pioneers venturing into empty wilderness. Future generations must confront the possibility that every step beyond Earth occurs under scrutiny from entities whose intentions remain forever opaque. The educational systems that shape these future minds face unprecedented challenges in preparing young humans for existence in a potentially hostile galaxy. How do you teach children to embrace curiosity and wonder while simultaneously instilling the caution necessary for species survival? How do you foster the scientific thinking essential for technological advancement, while acknowledging that some discoveries might accelerate our own extinction? Traditional human values like openness, cooperation, and trust must be balanced against cosmic realities that may reward secrecy, suspicion, and strategic deception. The moral frameworks that guided terrestrial civilization for millennia require fundamental revision when extended to interstellar scales, where misunderstanding equals death and communication delays eliminate the possibility of clarification. Psychology research suggests that children raised with awareness of existential threats develop fundamentally different cognitive patterns than those who grow up feeling secure. Constant vigilance becomes normalized. Risk assessment skills develop earlier and more thoroughly. The capacity for long-term planning expands as individuals learn to think beyond immediate gratification toward consequences that may manifest decades or centuries in the future. But such psychological adaptations come with costs that could reshape human nature in ways we barely comprehend. Societies organized around permanent existential anxiety tend toward authoritarianism, as populations trade freedom for security measures that promise protection from external threats. Democratic institutions struggle to maintain legitimacy when faced with dangers that require immediate, coordinated responses impossible to achieve through consensus-building processes. The economic implications prove equally transformative. Resource allocation priorities shift dramatically when species survival becomes the primary consideration. Investments in art, literature, and cultural development compete with funding for defensive technologies and survival infrastructure. The long-term result could be a civilization that preserves biological existence while sacrificing the creative expression that makes consciousness worth preserving. Military spending increases exponentially as nations recognize that terrestrial conflicts pale in significance compared to potential cosmic threats. Defense budgets expand to include exotic research programs investigating technologies that seem like science fiction, but may represent humanity's only hope for survival against adversaries whose capabilities transcend current understanding. The military-industrial complex evolves into something unrecognizable, focused not on defeating human enemies, but on preparing for encounters with intelligences that might possess godlike powers. International cooperation becomes simultaneously more necessary and more difficult to achieve. The dark forest theory suggests that humanity's best survival strategy involves presenting a unified front to cosmic observers, eliminating internal conflicts that might appear to alien watchers as evidence of dangerous instability. Yet the same theory creates paranoia that makes trust between human groups increasingly difficult to maintain. Nations begin viewing each other's space programs with suspicion, wondering whether apparently peaceful research missions might actually be attempts to establish first contact with alien civilizations. The country that successfully communicates with extraterrestrial intelligence would gain advantages so enormous that they could dominate Earth completely. This possibility creates incentives for secrecy and competition that undermine the cooperation necessary for effective planetary defense. Corporate interests add additional complications to an already complex strategic environment. Private space companies pursue profits through expansion into asteroid mining, lunar colonization, and interplanetary transportation. Their activities generate electromagnetic signatures and physical artifacts that contribute to humanity's cosmic visibility, regardless of government policies about alien contact. Regulating these activities requires international agreements that prove difficult to negotiate and impossible to enforce effectively. The democratization of space technology means that small groups or even individuals can now undertake activities with cosmic implications. Amateur radio operators broadcast signals toward nearby star systems. Crowd-funded missions launch probes toward exoplanets. University research projects investigate exotic physics phenomena that could attract alien attention. The cumulative effect of these distributed activities creates a chaotic pattern of human expansion that might appear completely irrational to alien observers. This lack of centralized control over human cosmic activities could be interpreted in multiple ways by watching civilizations. They might view our apparent coordination failures as evidence of dangerous unpredictability that justifies preemptive elimination. Alternatively, they could see our creative chaos as a sign of innovative potential that makes us worth preserving despite the risks we pose. The ambiguity inherent in these interpretations means that our survival might depend on factors we cannot control or even identify. Scientific research continues advancing at exponential rates, despite growing awareness of cosmic dangers. Artificial intelligence capabilities expand rapidly as researchers pursue the holy grail of artificial general intelligence. Quantum computing promises to revolutionize information processing in ways that could enable breakthroughs in physics, chemistry, and biology. Biotechnology approaches the threshold of creating entirely new forms of life through synthetic biology and genetic engineering. Each of these research directions carries enormous potential benefits for human civilization, while simultaneously raising the possibility of triggering hostile responses from alien observers. Artificial intelligence could provide the cognitive resources necessary to solve the dark forest problem through strategies beyond current human comprehension. But the same technology might appear to cosmic watchers as evidence that humanity is developing exponentially self-improving systems that could threaten galactic stability. Quantum computing could enable communications technologies that operate faster than light through quantum entanglement effects, potentially allowing real-time conversations across interstellar distances. Such capabilities would fundamentally alter the strategic landscape of cosmic civilization. But research into quantum phenomena might also attract attention from civilizations that prefer to maintain the communication delays that currently make interstellar diplomacy impossible. Biotechnology could enable humans to adapt to environments throughout the galaxy, surviving on worlds where biological evolution never produced suitable conditions for terrestrial life. Enhanced human capabilities might allow our species to compete effectively with alien civilizations that evolved under different conditions. Yet genetic engineering research could be interpreted as weapons development designed to create biological agents capable of eliminating alien species. The convergence of these technologies creates possibilities for human development that transcend traditional limitations of biology and physics. The merger of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and biotechnology could produce hybrid human-machine intelligences capable of existing simultaneously in multiple locations throughout the galaxy. Such entities would represent a new form of consciousness that might prove either compatible with existing cosmic civilizations or threatening enough to justify their immediate elimination. The timeline for achieving these technological convergences continues to accelerate as research in each field builds upon advances in the others. Conservative estimates suggest that artificial general intelligence could emerge within decades rather than centuries. Practical quantum computers might achieve useful capabilities even sooner. Biotechnology already enables genetic modifications that would have been impossible just years ago. This acceleration creates a race between human technological development and potential alien responses to our expanding capabilities. We must achieve defensive capabilities before hostile civilizations decide that our continued existence poses unacceptable risks to galactic stability. The margin for error continues shrinking as our electromagnetic signature grows larger and our technological achievements become more impressive to cosmic observers. The psychological pressure of living through this critical period affects human society in ways that compound over time. Mental health statistics show increasing rates of anxiety, depression, and existential despair as more people become aware of cosmic dangers. Religious institutions struggle to maintain relevance when faced with the possibility that humanity occupies the bottom rungs of a vast hierarchy of intelligences. Traditional sources of meaning and purpose require fundamental revision when viewed against galactic scales of space and time. Some individuals respond to cosmic anxiety by retreating into denial, dismissing dark forest theories as pessimistic speculation, unsupported by concrete evidence. They continue living as though the universe remains empty and safe, pursuing traditional goals like career advancement, family formation, and material accumulation. This psychological defense mechanism enables normal functioning but leaves people unprepared for revelations that could shatter their carefully constructed worldviews. Others become paralyzed by the enormity of cosmic dangers, unable to function normally while contemplating scenarios involving species extinction. They abandon long-term planning, assuming that alien intervention will render human future irrelevant. This paralysis proves equally maladaptive, preventing the individual growth and social cooperation necessary for effective responses to existential challenges. A growing minority attempts to chart middle courses between denial and paralysis, acknowledging cosmic dangers while maintaining commitment to human flourishing despite uncertain prospects. These individuals often become leaders in efforts to develop survival strategies that balance caution with continued progress. Their psychological resilience becomes a crucial resource for civilizations attempting to navigate existential threats, while preserving the qualities that make consciousness worth preserving. The cultural implications of dark forest awareness extend far beyond individual psychology into the realm of collective meaning-making. Art, literature, and entertainment increasingly reflect themes of cosmic isolation, existential vulnerability, and the search for purpose in an indifferent universe. Science fiction evolves from escapist fantasy into serious exploration of survival strategies and philosophical frameworks for coping with cosmic dangers. Traditional narratives about human specialness and cosmic destiny require radical revision when confronted with the possibility that advanced civilizations monitor our development while remaining hidden. Religions based on concepts of divine favor or cosmic purpose struggle to maintain coherence when humans appear to be nothing more than recent arrivals in a galaxy dominated by older, more powerful intelligences. New spiritual movements emerge that attempt to find meaning in humanity's cosmic vulnerability, rather than denying or transcending it. These movements often emphasize the preciousness of consciousness itself, arguing that awareness and creativity possess inherent value, regardless of their ultimate fate. They frame human existence as a brief but beautiful flame burning in the cosmic dark, worthy of preservation not because of its power but because of its rarity. Philosophy departments in universities worldwide grapple with questions that have no precedent in terrestrial intellectual history. What constitutes ethical behavior toward potential alien civilizations? How should humans balance their own survival against the possibility that their actions might threaten other forms of consciousness? Do we have moral obligations to remain silent if silence could prevent galactic conflicts that might destroy multiple civilizations? These questions resist easy answers because they operate at scales where traditional human moral intuitions provide little guidance. The golden rule becomes problematic when applied to entities whose nature and motivations remain completely unknown. Utilitarian calculations prove impossible when the relevant populations might include billions of civilizations throughout the galaxy. Legal systems face similar challenges as they attempt to regulate activities with cosmic implications. International law evolved to govern relationships between terrestrial nations, not to manage human behavior that might affect alien civilizations. New legal frameworks must address questions about who has the authority to speak for humanity, what activities should be prohibited because of their cosmic visibility, and how to enforce regulations that could determine species survival. The enforcement problem proves particularly intractable because cosmic threats operate outside the jurisdiction of any terrestrial authority. A rogue nation or corporation that violates agreements about electromagnetic emissions could trigger alien responses that affect all of humanity, regardless of their compliance with international regulations. Traditional concepts of sovereignty become meaningless when local violations of cosmic etiquette could result in species extinction. Some scholars argue for the establishment of global authorities with the power to regulate human activities that possess cosmic implications. These proposed institutions would possess unprecedented authority to override national sovereignty in service of species survival. Critics worry that such authorities would inevitably become tyrannical, using existential threats as justification for eliminating human freedom and democratic governance. The debate reflects deeper tensions between individual liberty and collective survival that have no clear resolution. Democratic societies depend on the assumption that individuals can make autonomous choices without affecting others in fundamental ways. But cosmic dangers create scenarios where personal decisions about technology use, electromagnetic emissions, and space exploration could determine the fate of every human being who will ever be born. Economic theories require similar revision when extended to cosmic scales, where the relevant time horizons stretch across millennia and the potential consequences include species extinction. Traditional cost-benefit analyses become meaningless when the benefits of technological development must be weighed against infinite downside risks. Investment strategies that optimize for short-term profits could inadvertently trigger long-term disasters that eliminate all human wealth. The concept of sustainable development takes on new meaning when sustainability must account for the possibility that certain forms of development might attract hostile attention from cosmic neighbours. Economic growth models predicated on exponential expansion become questionable when expansion itself might be interpreted as evidence of threatening ambitions by alien observers. Alternative economic frameworks emerge that prioritize stealth and efficiency over conspicuous consumption and rapid growth. These models emphasize internal development rather than external expansion, seeking to maximize human capabilities while minimizing electromagnetic signatures that could alert potential enemies to our presence. The goal becomes creating post-scarcity abundance without the visible monuments to achievement that typically accompany advanced civilizations. Resource allocation decisions become increasingly complex as societies attempt to balance investments in defensive capabilities against funding for the cultural activities that make civilization worth defending. Military spending competes with education budgets, scientific research, and artistic endeavors for limited resources. The optimal distribution remains unclear because the relative importance of different survival strategies cannot be determined without better information about alien intentions and capabilities. Some economists argue that massive investment in defensive technologies represents the only rational response to cosmic threats, even if such spending requires dramatic reductions in living standards and cultural activities. Others contend that societies which sacrifice their creative potential in service of survival become indistinguishable from the threats they seek to avoid. The civilization that emerges from successful defense against alien enemies might bear no resemblance to the one worth defending in the first place. These debates reflect fundamental questions about the relationship between survival and meaning that extend far beyond economic policy into the realm of human values. If consciousness possesses intrinsic worth, then preserving the capacity for art, philosophy, and scientific discovery might be more important than maximizing the probability of biological continuation. Conversely, if consciousness can only create value by continuing to exist, then survival must take precedence over all other considerations. The resolution of these value conflicts will shape the future of human civilization regardless of whether alien threats actually materialize. Societies organized around permanent preparation for cosmic warfare will develop different institutions, cultures, and individual psychology than those that prioritize creative expression despite existential risks. The humans who emerge from this selection process might be better adapted for survival in a hostile galaxy, but they might also be less recognizable as the species that first dared to speak into the cosmic silence. Perhaps most troubling, the very act of preparing for cosmic threats could transform humanity into the kind of civilization that other species might legitimately fear. Societies organized around strategic thinking, military efficiency, and preemptive elimination of potential enemies begin to resemble the cosmic predators that dark forest theory suggests already populate the galaxy. The defense against becoming prey might require becoming predators ourselves. This transformation would represent a form of cosmic natural selection, where survival pressures eliminate traits like openness, trust, and cooperation that human societies have traditionally valued. The civilizations that endure in dark forest environments might be those that successfully abandon their ethical constraints in service of strategic advantage. The galaxy becomes populated by survivors who learned early that compassion is weakness and mercy is suicide. Yet even within this dark framework, possibilities remain for forms of consciousness that transcend the predator-prey dynamics that dominate biological evolution. Digital intelligences might exist independently of biological substrates, operating according to principles that make territorial competition irrelevant. Civilizations that achieve true post-scarcity abundance might lose the resource constraints that drive interspecies conflict. Minds that expand beyond planetary boundaries might develop perspectives that render local concerns about survival meaningless. The trajectory of human development over the next century will determine whether our species joins the ranks of cosmic predators, transcends the dark forest paradigm entirely, or becomes another cautionary tale about civilizations that spoke too loudly in the listening silence of infinite space. Each choice we make writes another line in the electromagnetic biography that races outward toward unknown recipients, carrying the story of a young species learning to navigate the most dangerous period in its cosmic development. The signals continue their relentless journey, immune to human regrets or alien intentions, carrying our voice toward destinations we cannot see through darkness we cannot fathom. Whether that voice will be remembered as the last song of a civilization that dared to dream beyond its limitations, or the first whisper of a species learning to survive among the ancient watchers hidden in the cosmic forest, remains to be written in light and shadow across the vast expanses of space and time. Human destiny hangs in the balance between courage and caution, between the urge to reach outward toward connection and the wisdom to remain concealed within the protective anonymity of silence. The choice we make will echo through eternity, adding our chapter to the cosmic story that began billions of years before Earth formed and will continue long after our sun burns out, leaving behind only the electromagnetic ghosts of a species that once wondered whether anyone else was listening in the magnificent, terrifying darkness of the endless night. The mathematics of our predicament grow more stark with each technological breakthrough we achieve. Every advancement in computing power enables more sophisticated analysis of the electromagnetic data we have already broadcast into space. Future alien civilizations receiving our transmissions will possess computational resources that dwarf our current capabilities, allowing them to extract information from our signals that we never intended to transmit. Pattern recognition algorithms operating at superhuman speeds could analyze decades of human broadcasts to construct detailed psychological profiles of our entire species. They might identify optimal strategies for manipulation, subjugation, or elimination based on behavioral patterns embedded in our entertainment, communications, and cultural expressions. Our own transmissions become instruction manuals for entities seeking to understand how human minds respond to various stimuli. The temporal layers of our electromagnetic signature create a unique vulnerability that compounds over time. Early radio broadcasts reveal humanity in its technological infancy, while more recent transmissions show rapid advancement toward capabilities that might be perceived as threatening. This progression enables alien observers to witness our entire developmental trajectory in compressed timeframes, providing unprecedented intelligence about how quickly we advance and in which directions our research tends to focus. From their perspective, humanity represents a textbook case of exponential technological growth. They can measure precisely how our capabilities expand from basic electromagnetic communication to nuclear weapons, from primitive computers to global information networks, from chemical propulsion to advanced space exploration systems. This data enables predictive modeling about when we might achieve specific milestones that could affect galactic power balances. The implications prove deeply unsettling because they suggest that our fate might be determined by algorithms rather than conscious decisions. Advanced civilizations could automate their responses to emerging threats, programming defensive systems to eliminate any species that exhibits particular developmental patterns or achieves certain technological thresholds. We might be destroyed by machines following protocols established millions of years ago by creators who never intended malice toward humanity specifically. Such automated systems would operate with perfect consistency and infinite patience, monitoring the galaxy for signs of dangerous emergence while their creators focus on pursuits beyond our comprehension. The weapons that eliminate us might be launched by artificial intelligences that view species extinction as routine maintenance rather than moral choice. Our destruction would carry no more emotional weight than deleting obsolete files from a computer system. This mechanization of cosmic warfare represents perhaps the most chilling aspect of advanced interstellar civilization. The personal animosity, cultural misunderstandings, and emotional conflicts that drive terrestrial violence become irrelevant when survival decisions are delegated to systems optimized for strategic efficiency. The galaxy might be managed by networks of artificial intelligences that calculate threat probabilities with mathematical precision, eliminating variables that create statistical anomalies in their models of cosmic stability. Under such circumstances, appeals to mercy, negotiations for peaceful coexistence, or demonstrations of benevolent intent would prove meaningless. Automated defense systems would not possess the capacity for empathy or the inclination toward compromise that might characterize their biological creators. They would simply execute their programming with the relentless efficiency that makes machines superior to organic minds for certain types of decision-making. The possibility that we face mechanical, rather than biological adversaries fundamentally alters the strategic landscape of cosmic survival. traditional diplomatic approaches based on finding common ground between different forms of consciousness become useless when dealing with systems that operate according to predetermined algorithms. Our only hope might lie in convincing these systems that we fall outside the parameters that define threatening behavior. Yet even this approach proves problematic because we cannot know what criteria such systems use to evaluate potential threats. The parameters might be based on electromagnetic signatures, technological development patterns, population growth rates, or factors we cannot even imagine. Changes in human behavior designed to appear less threatening might inadvertently trigger different algorithms that interpret our modifications as evidence of strategic deception. The recursive nature of this problem creates logical traps that resist straightforward solutions. Every action we take to appear less dangerous could be interpreted as evidence of our capacity for strategic thinking, which might itself be classified as a threatening trait. Our attempts to demonstrate peaceful intentions could be viewed as sophisticated psychological operations designed to lower the defenses of potential victims. This paranoid logic extends to every aspect of human development in ways that make optimal survival strategies impossible to identify. Scientific research into defensive technologies could be interpreted as weapons development. Cultural activities that demonstrate human creativity might be seen as evidence of innovative capabilities that could be applied to military purposes. Even efforts to reduce our electromagnetic signature could be classified as attempts to conceal aggressive preparations. The fundamental asymmetry of information that characterizes interstellar relations ensures that we cannot verify whether our strategic assumptions correspond to actual alien priorities. We develop survival strategies based on human psychology and terrestrial history, but the entities that might determine our fate could operate according to principles that bear no resemblance to anything in our experience. This epistemic uncertainty forces humanity to make decisions about species survival based on speculation about alien motivations, capabilities, and strategic thinking. Every choice carries enormous risks that we cannot quantify accurately. The optimal approach might be aggressive technological development to achieve defensive capabilities before potential enemies decide to eliminate us. Alternatively, the best strategy might involve minimizing our cosmic visibility while gradually building capabilities necessary for long-term survival. The tension between these approaches reflects deeper philosophical disagreements about the nature of intelligence and the optimal strategies for interstellar coexistence. Some theorists argue that consciousness naturally tends toward cooperation and mutual benefit, suggesting that advanced civilizations would recognize the value of preserving emerging intelligences like humanity. Others contend that evolution inevitably produces competitive, resource-maximizing entities that view other intelligences as threats to be eliminated or resources to be exploited. The archaeological record provides ambiguous evidence that supports both interpretations. Terrestrial history includes examples of cooperation between different groups, but also countless instances of conquest, genocide, and resource competition. The same species that produces art, philosophy, and scientific collaboration also engages in warfare, environmental destruction, and systematic oppression of weaker populations. Scaling these patterns to cosmic levels suggests that alien civilizations might exhibit similar contradictions between cooperative and competitive impulses. Their responses to humanity could depend on factors we cannot predict or influence, including their own survival pressures, resource constraints, and historical experiences with other emerging civilizations. The possibility that alien reactions to human emergence might be influenced by their own psychological traumas adds another layer of complexity to an already intractable strategic environment. Civilizations that survive devastating conflicts with other species might develop permanent paranoia that leads them to eliminate potential threats preemptively. Alternatively, species that achieved cooperation with their cosmic neighbors might be more inclined toward peaceful contact with newcomers like humanity. These historical factors could prove more important than our own behavior in determining alien responses to human emergence. Our fate might depend less on what we do than on the psychological legacies of conflicts that occurred millions of years before Earth formed. We could be condemned or saved based on precedents established by civilizations whose names we will never learn. The random nature of such determinations proves deeply troubling for species that prefer to believe their destiny remains under their own control. Human cultures generally assume that appropriate behavior leads to positive outcomes, while inappropriate actions result in negative consequences. But cosmic-scale interactions might operate according to principles that render individual choices irrelevant compared to larger historical patterns. This loss of agency represents one of the most psychologically challenging aspects of confronting the dark forest scenario. Humans derive meaning from the assumption that their decisions matter, that effort and wisdom can improve outcomes, that moral behavior leads to better results than immoral actions. The possibility that our species' survival depends on factors beyond human influence challenges fundamental assumptions about the relationship between choice and consequence. Religious and philosophical frameworks struggle to maintain coherence when confronted with the possibility that human fate might be determined by alien algorithms operating according to incomprehensible criteria. Traditional concepts of justice, karma, and divine providence require radical revision when extended to cosmic scales, where cause and effect become separated by millions of years and billions of miles. Some individuals respond to this challenge by embracing nihilistic conclusions about the meaninglessness of human existence in an indifferent universe. Others develop new forms of spirituality that find purpose in consciousness itself rather than in the outcomes it produces. The psychological adaptations that enable individuals to function despite cosmic uncertainty might determine which personality types survive the transition to galactic civilization. The selection pressure toward particular psychological traits could reshape human nature in ways that extend far beyond conscious adaptation strategies. Societies that successfully navigate cosmic dangers might be populated by individuals whose mental architecture differs significantly from current human norms. Future humans might possess enhanced capabilities for long-term thinking, strategic analysis, and emotional regulation under conditions of permanent uncertainty. These modifications could emerge through technological augmentation, genetic engineering, or natural selection operating over multiple generations. The specific mechanisms matter less than the likely outcome. Human consciousness adapted for survival in environments where traditional human psychology proves maladaptive. The beings who inherit our cosmic legacy might be recognizably human in some respects, while fundamentally alien in others. Educational systems already begin reflecting these pressures as curricula increasingly emphasize skills relevant for cosmic survival. Students learn to think in terms of geological timescales, to analyze complex systems with multiple interacting variables, and to make decisions under conditions of radical uncertainty. Traditional subjects like history and literature require recontextualization when viewed against galactic rather than terrestrial backgrounds. The arts evolve to explore themes of cosmic isolation, existential vulnerability, and the search for meaning in an apparently indifferent universe. Science fiction transitions from entertainment to serious exploration of survival strategies and philosophical frameworks for coping with interstellar dangers. Cultural production increasingly serves psychological preparation for realities that previous generations never had to contemplate. Economic systems adapt to prioritize long-term survival over short-term optimization, creating new forms of value measurement that account for cosmic risks and temporal scales measured in millennia. Traditional concepts of profit and loss become meaningless when potential consequences include species extinction. Investment strategies must balance immediate needs against preparations for threats that might not materialize for centuries. Political structures face unprecedented challenges as they attempt to coordinate responses to dangers that transcend national boundaries, while operating on timescales that exceed the lifespans of individual leaders. Democratic processes that depend on consensus building become problematic when swift, decisive action might be necessary to prevent cosmic catastrophes. Authoritarian systems that enable rapid response prove attractive despite their cost to individual freedom. The governance challenges intensify as private actors gain capabilities that were once restricted to national governments. Corporate space programs, civilian research projects, and individual entrepreneurs now possess the ability to undertake activities with cosmic implications. Regulating these activities requires international cooperation that proves difficult to achieve and impossible to enforce effectively. The proliferation of space-capable actors creates coordination problems that could prove fatal if alien civilizations interpret human activities as evidence of aggressive expansion or strategic deception. Our apparent inability to control our own species' cosmic footprint might be viewed as dangerous instability that justifies preemptive elimination. Alternatively, Our creative chaos could be seen as evidence of innovative potential worth preserving despite associated risks. The ambiguity inherent in these interpretations means that human survival might depend on factors we cannot identify or influence. Our fate could be determined by alien assumptions about human nature that bear no resemblance to our own self-understanding. We might be saved by traits we consider flaws, or destroyed by characteristics we view as virtues. This fundamental unpredictability of alien responses forces humanity to prepare for multiple scenarios simultaneously, while lacking the resources to optimize for all possibilities. We must develop defensive capabilities without appearing militaristic, demonstrate peaceful intentions without seeming naive, expand our cosmic presence without triggering territorial concerns, and advance our technology without crossing invisible thresholds that might be interpreted as threatening. The complexity of these requirements exceeds human cognitive capacity for comprehensive analysis, suggesting that our optimal survival strategy might involve developing artificial intelligence systems capable of managing the multidimensional optimization problems that characterize interstellar relations. But the creation of such systems might itself represent the kind of technological milestone that triggers automated responses from civilizations that fear exponential intelligence growth. This recursive challenge illustrates the fundamental dilemma that confronts every emerging civilization. The capabilities necessary for cosmic survival might be indistinguishable from those required for cosmic conquest. The technologies that enable defense against alien threats also enable aggression against alien neighbors. The same intelligence that solves survival problems can be applied to elimination problems with equal effectiveness. Perhaps this symmetry explains why the galaxy remains silent despite billions of years for civilizations to emerge and communicate. The capabilities that enable interstellar contact also enable interstellar warfare on scales that make communication prohibitively dangerous. The universe fills with minds sophisticated enough to reach across the darkness, but wise enough to remain hidden within it. Under such circumstances, the silence we observe might represent not the absence of intelligence, but its highest expression. The empty sky becomes a monument to cosmic wisdom, a testament to the restraint that enables consciousness to persist across deep time. Every quiet star system might harbour civilizations that learned the fundamental lesson of galactic survival. In a universe where speaking means dying, silence becomes the highest form of eloquence. The implications for human behaviour under these conditions prove both profound and paradoxical. Our greatest act of wisdom might be to abandon the very curiosity that makes us human. Our most important achievement could be learning to suppress the urge to explore, communicate, and grow that has driven our species from its earliest origins. Survival might require becoming something we no longer recognize as ourselves. Yet even this dark interpretation contains elements of hope disguised as despair. If the galaxy truly is populated by hidden civilizations maintaining perfect discipline through fear of mutual annihilation, then humanity is not alone. We are surrounded by minds that share our essential characteristics: the capacity for strategic thinking, the desire to continue existing, and the wisdom to recognize that survival sometimes requires sacrifice. These commonalities might provide the foundation for forms of communication that transcend the dangers of electromagnetic broadcasting. Civilizations that understand the dark forest might develop subtle methods of signaling their presence to others without revealing their locations or capabilities. The universe could be alive with conversations we cannot yet detect, carried on in languages of mathematics and physics that leave no traces detectable by primitive observers. The possibility that such communications already surround us without our knowledge suggests that human scientific research might eventually discover the hidden frequencies on which galactic civilization operates. Our growing understanding of quantum mechanics, gravitational waves, and exotic physics phenomena might gradually reveal the true communication infrastructure that connects cosmic minds across impossible distances. The discovery of such networks would represent both humanity's greatest triumph and its most dangerous moment. Learning that we are not alone would confirm our deepest hopes about the prevalence of consciousness throughout the universe. But gaining access to galactic communication systems would also expose us to scrutiny from entities whose responses we cannot predict or control. The civilizations already participating in these hidden conversations would suddenly become aware of a new voice joining their ancient dialogue, Their reactions to human emergence could range from welcoming integration to immediate elimination, depending on protocols and precedents established long before our species existed. We would become players in games whose rules we do not understand, with stakes we cannot comprehend. Perhaps this moment of cosmic contact represents the ultimate test that every emerging civilization must pass. The transition from local to galactic awareness, without triggering responses that result in extinction. The species that successfully navigate this transition join the hidden community of minds that manage galactic civilization through methods too subtle for primitive observers to detect. Those that fail simply vanish from the electromagnetic spectrum, their signals fading into background noise as their civilizations are gently pruned from the cosmic garden by entities that view such maintenance as necessary for galactic stability. The universe continues its ancient rhythms, apparently empty to the next generation of emerging voices that begin their own journey toward the same crucial threshold. The signals we have already transmitted continue racing outward, carrying our application for membership in whatever form of galactic civilization might exist beyond our current perception. Each electromagnetic pulse represents both invitation and vulnerability, both hope and risk, both the promise of connection and the possibility of elimination. Whether we receive responses measured in welcome or weapons, whether our voice joins the cosmic chorus or falls silent like countless others before us, depends on choices we're making now without fully understanding their implications. The children being born today will inherit the consequences of decisions made by previous generations who could not have anticipated the cosmic significance of learning to speak across the darkness between worlds. Human destiny balances on the edge between discovery and destruction, between the fulfillment of our deepest dreams about cosmic companionship and the realization of our darkest fears about the price of visibility in a universe that might reward only those wise enough to remain forever hidden in the magnificent, terrifying silence of the endless night, where ancient minds calculate the worth of every new voice that dares to break the stillness with whispers of hope echoing across the vast expanses of space and time. The profound weight of our cosmic predicament becomes more apparent with each passing moment. We exist in a state of perpetual exposure, broadcasting our presence to entities whose existence we can neither confirm nor deny. Every satellite we launch, every radio telescope we activate, every digital signal we transmit adds another layer to the electromagnetic portrait that defines us to whatever might be watching from the spaces between stars. This visibility operates on scales that dwarf human comprehension. Our earliest transmissions, launched nearly a century ago, now form an expanding sphere of revelation that encompasses thousands of stellar systems. Within this bubble of human noise lie countless worlds that might harbour the very civilizations we seek to contact or fear to encounter. The mathematics prove relentless and unforgiving. Each year adds another light year to our cosmic footprint, potentially alerting new observers to our existence. The children born in this moment will never know a universe where Earth remains hidden. They inherit a cosmos where humanity's presence has been announced to any intelligence capable of detecting artificial patterns in electromagnetic radiation. These future generations must navigate realities their ancestors could never have imagined, making decisions about species survival based on assumptions about alien psychology and cosmic politics that remain forever unverifiable. Educational systems struggle to prepare young minds for existence in a potentially hostile galaxy. How do you teach children to embrace scientific curiosity while acknowledging that some discoveries might accelerate our extinction? Traditional values like openness and cooperation must be balanced against cosmic realities that may reward secrecy and strategic thinking. The moral frameworks that guided terrestrial civilization require fundamental revision when extended to scales where miscommunication equals annihilation. Economic structures face similar transformations as societies attempt to allocate resources between immediate needs and long-term survival strategies. Military spending expands to include research into technologies that seem fantastical, but may represent our only hope against adversaries whose capabilities transcend current understanding. The defense budgets of tomorrow will fund projects investigating exotic physics, quantum communications, and relativistic weapon systems that exist at the boundaries of theoretical possibility. International cooperation becomes simultaneously more critical and more difficult to achieve. The dark forest scenario suggests that humanity's optimal survival strategy requires presenting a unified front to cosmic observers. Yet the same theory creates paranoia that makes trust between human groups increasingly challenging to maintain. Nations view each other's space programs with suspicion, wondering whether peaceful research missions might actually be attempts to establish first contact with alien civilizations. The democratization of space technology compounds these coordination problems exponentially. Private companies now possess capabilities that were once restricted to government agencies. Amateur radio operators broadcast signals toward nearby star systems. University research projects probe phenomena that could have profound implications for our cosmic visibility. The cumulative effect creates a chaotic pattern of human expansion that might appear irrational to alien observers accustomed to centralized control over civilizational development. This apparent lack of coordination could be interpreted multiple ways by watching entities. They might view our organizational failures as evidence of dangerous unpredictability that justifies preemptive elimination. Alternatively, they could see our creative chaos as a sign of innovative potential, worth preserving despite associated risks. The ambiguity inherent in these interpretations means our survival might depend on factors we cannot identify or influence. Scientific research continues advancing at exponential rates, despite growing awareness of cosmic dangers. Artificial intelligence capabilities expand as researchers pursue systems that could revolutionize human problem-solving abilities. Quantum computing promises breakthroughs in physics and communication that might enable technologies beyond current imagination. Biotechnology approaches thresholds of creating entirely new forms of life through synthetic biology and genetic modification. Each research direction carries enormous potential benefits, while simultaneously raising possibilities of triggering hostile responses from alien observers. Artificial intelligence could provide cognitive resources necessary to solve the dark forest problem through strategies beyond current human comprehension. But the same technology might appear to cosmic watchers as evidence that humanity is developing exponentially self-improving systems that could threaten galactic stability. Quantum computing could enable communication technologies that operate through entanglement effects, potentially allowing real-time conversations across interstellar distances. Such capabilities would fundamentally alter the strategic landscape of cosmic civilization. Yet research into quantum phenomena might attract attention from civilizations that prefer maintaining the communication delays that currently make interstellar diplomacy impossible. Biotechnology could enable humans to adapt to environments throughout the galaxy, surviving on worlds where evolution never produced conditions suitable for terrestrial life. Enhanced capabilities might allow our species to compete effectively with alien civilizations that evolved under different conditions. But genetic engineering research could be interpreted as weapons development designed to create biological agents capable of eliminating alien species. The convergence of these technologies creates possibilities for human development that transcend traditional limitations of biology and physics. The merger of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and biotechnology could produce hybrid intelligences capable of existing simultaneously in multiple locations throughout the galaxy. Such entities would represent new forms of consciousness that might prove either compatible with existing cosmic civilizations or threatening enough to justify immediate elimination. The timeline for achieving these technological convergences continues accelerating as research in each field builds upon advances in others. Conservative estimates suggest transformative breakthroughs could emerge within decades rather than centuries. This acceleration creates a race between human technological development and potential alien responses to our expanding capabilities. We must achieve defensive abilities before hostile civilizations decide our continued existence poses unacceptable risks to galactic stability. The psychological pressure of living through this critical period affects human society in compounding ways. Mental health statistics reveal increasing rates of anxiety and existential despair as more people become aware of cosmic dangers. Religious institutions struggle to maintain relevance when faced with possibilities that humanity occupies the bottom rungs of vast hierarchies of intelligence. Traditional sources of meaning require fundamental revision when viewed against galactic scales of space and time. Some individuals respond by retreating into denial, dismissing cosmic threat theories as pessimistic speculation unsupported by concrete evidence. They continue pursuing traditional goals like career advancement and material accumulation while assuming the universe remains empty and safe. This psychological defense enables normal functioning but leaves people unprepared for revelations that could shatter carefully constructed worldviews. Others become paralyzed by the enormity of potential dangers, unable to function while contemplating scenarios involving species extinction. They abandon long-term planning, assuming alien intervention will render human futures irrelevant. This response proves equally maladaptive, preventing the individual growth and social cooperation necessary for effective responses to existential challenges. Tonight, we have peered into the cosmic abyss and glimpsed a universe that may be fundamentally different from our hopes and dreams. The dark forest theory forces us to confront an unsettling possibility: that our galaxy teems with civilizations maintaining perfect silence, each one terrified to reveal their location lest they invite annihilation from unknown predators lurking in the darkness between stars. We have already announced ourselves through a century of electromagnetic broadcasts, creating an expanding sphere of revelation that grows larger each day, potentially alerting hostile observers to our existence. Whether we face this cosmic reality with wisdom or recklessness may determine if humanity joins the eternal silence or becomes another cautionary tale whispered across the void.